Shawna Karrasch here, coming to you with another Ask Shawna answer at Via Nova. Okay, this one comes from Cyndi, and Cyndi says, I was asked to help out with a horse at my barn who is very defensive about taking medication through an oral syringe. I think that we can overcome the issue using clicker training, but I'm not sure what the right approach would be. Would you start by 1, teaching her to target the syringe, 2, to accept it being placed in the corner of her mouth without giving any meds yet, and 3, to administer meds and reward afterwards? I really appreciate your advice on the best way to approach this. Thanks for your time. And it's all of those are good. I mean, there's many roads to Rome, I'm going to say. But what I tend to do is I want to be sure that they're comfortable, and in fact, more than comfortable, that they actually enjoy tactile around the head and mouth. So I start by being sure that I can hold them like this, that they're good with that, and they'll be soft, and I can move their nose back and forth, and they're not resisting that. They're not like, what are you doing? But they're like, yeah, this is good. That's great. I use a lot of positive reinforcement to truly classically condition it. So like, I love that. I love doing that. And then the next thing I have a tendency to do is when I can go like this, can I bring the other hand up? And when I can bring the other hand up, eventually I start trying to get very demonstrative, but getting my finger in the crook of their mouth so that I can kind of start moving around, and they get used to that feeling. They get used to a little manipulation, because the truth is when you put it in, you sometimes have to jam it and do things a little differently. So I make sure that they're comfortable with that piece. And beyond comfortable, I want to be sure they like it. So I really try to go towards the classic conditioning and making sure they're like, I love this behavior. This is great. And then what I'll do is then I begin to go to the medication place. Now, sometimes I've taken different steps depending on, the horse, or where I feel like maybe they're having a hang up at a particular part or whatever it might be. So those are basically the steps I go through. And I'm going to refer you to the Equine Clicker 101 on the podcast there. I have an episode on wormers, oral medication. I'm not sure the name of it, but look up oral medication. If you search oral medication, you should find it. And it is, and you might, sometimes sometimes the searching on the website isn't as easy, but if you search on like Google or Yahoo and search Shawna Karrasch podcast wormers, you're going to find her oral medication. I think you'll find it easier there. And then that'll take you to the episode that is, or the lesson really, that will cover that a little bit more in more detail. The other thing I kind of remind people about, a lot of times people think, I'll just put, molasses in the tube, because you can get syringes anywhere, and they'll put molasses in there. And I'm going to tell you, and they think, oh, the horses will love that. You shoot anything in their mouth, and they're like, no, that's their first reaction. They're neophobic, or they tend to be like, new stuff is weird, not right. I don't think so. So really by utilizing, so I will actually get them used to the taste of some good things on the outside of the syringe first. So I do a little taste test. I will get a bucket or a rubber bowl. I'll put applesauce, baby food carrots, molasses, honey. So there's different things that they can try. And so they can show me which one they have an exposure, or which one they tend to prefer. And then I keep going a little bit so they get used to that flavor. So let's say they do pick molasses. Some do not, and some do. But let's say they pick molasses. They're like, I love molasses. And then I would give it to them just a little bit, a little dab of it on their food or in their bowl or whatever for a week or so. So they kind of get acclimated to that taste and that flavor, because you have to teach them about new flavors a lot of times. And then when that goes good, I will put it on the outside of the syringe or something and do that separately, where they get to lick the syringe and get used to the taste of it on the syringe. They like the syringe. And then I move to replacing my finger with the actual syringe. And eventually I will inject the tiniest bit of molasses or applesauce or whatever their preference was. And so they get kind of used to this little bit of something being shot into their mouth that is not aversive. Because when it comes to the medicine, it'll be aversive. It's just, and it just is, there's not a lot we can do about that. So I think that that will be kind of some good steps to think. And if you watch or listen to that podcast, I think it'll also give you some good tips for things to think about. And I tell the story about Bugsy, who had to get medication, dissolved pills medication, to get 5 tubes a day for 6 weeks. And he took it the entire time without a halter and lead rope. And I couldn't feed him. So I tell that story in there too, which also may give you some more food for thought. And I go into it a little bit more, which will give you, sometimes I think of other things at different times in my life. And so I may have, just a different day. Tomorrow I may be going, you know what I'd do? I'd add this in or this in. But I like your plan. I think it's really a good plan. I just consider those extra little pieces. And remember, the predisposition to go, I don't want that, I don't want it, means he finds it more reinforcing to avoid it than he does to take it. So if we can really add the positive reinforcement to the elements that are part of it, we can really start to change their mind about it. Instead of them just refusing before they even know, they actually they'll work more with us, a lot more with us. So like Bugsy, I couldn't feed him because if I fed him before, the medicine came out with whatever he had in his cheeks. If I fed him after, the medicine came out with what he took in afterwards. So I couldn't feed him ever for that. So I didn't really prepare him for all that. So there's ways that we can do that really help. Utilizing positive reinforcement in other ways also really strengthens the relationship. There's something you may have heard of in behavior terms. It's called the trust bank is what it's been referred to. And a lot of people have referred to it and used it and as this analogy. And basically it's like a bank account. You keep putting positive reinforcement in, positive reinforcement in, positive reinforcement in. Pretty soon you come up and they're like, I love that person. There's a lot in their account. And then when we have to take it out and go, I'm sorry, you're not going to like this for a bit, but we just need to do it. There's enough in there that overrides the aversive nature of it. So instead of them going, see, that's it, forget it, I knew you were bad. They're like, no, you're still, in my eyes, very good. We just had kind of a weird thing. So then I go on and do other fun stuff as soon as, that they've digested got their meds past their mouth. And so that I really kind of help to make up for the situation where I may have had to bring something aversive to it. It's with the sea lions. We had to take them for physicals once a year. We had to put them in a cage and roll them back to the veterinary lab, and so they're going in, this is great, we're good, we're going in, and then we shut them in and take them back. And then they're like, this is not good. We've broken their trust for that moment. But we get back to it when they get back. We know we have a whole nother year, but we start doing it again and making it more good than bad. So the good times outweigh the bad times. And I think that's an important kind of thing to keep in mind as you move forward with that. So Cyndi, it's a great question, and I'm glad that you're kind of taking this on a little bit. You can really turn it around. He just has had it be an unpleasant experience, and probably what happens worse than the flavor was the fact that somebody probably got on him about it. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, they're hanging on your head and they won't let you go. And pretty soon the event is a bigger deal than probably just the bitter taste of medications. So, and a lot of medications are, flavored for horses a bit. So they can, it doesn't make them great, but it can kind of, make them better, better than just bitter pills. Anyway, so I hope that helps you out. If you have more questions, you know where to get a hold of me. Just go to shawnakarrasch.com and you will find, or vianova.com, vianovatraining.com, and you will find a tab that says Ask Shawna. You can submit your questions there, and I'll be happy to continue answering your questions. So, okay, hope that helps you out, and I'd love to hear an update of how things are going. All righty, bye for now.